I've just been reading a paper by Rosetto and Chappell 2019 where they were talking about moving beyond technical skills in accounting to a more contextual appreciation of accounting practice. And in the paper it told us that there were calls for development of generic skills in students such as creativity and critical thinking. Now my area of expertise is not in accounting, so I'm not going to focus on that element of the paper. My skills are in systems thinking. The relationship between systems thinking and this paper is that creativity and critical thinking, which were being considered as an effective focus of teaching and learning practices in accountancy, are central in systems thinking. In the paper, it was deemed beneficial for students to have an appreciation of accounting from multiple perspectives. And engaging with multiple perspectives is key in systems thinking. It was deemed essential to explore ethical dimensions of the situation, another key area of exploration that would be undertaken by a systems thinker. Skills such as these were deemed essential for the context we work in nowadays. Purely technical skills alone were deemed no longer enough. The authors of the paper did highlight some key challenges in teaching and learning practices that embrace creativity and critical thinking, and I've experienced these myself in my teaching and learning practices. When we engage in deep learning, when we fully embrace creativity and critical thinking, we're often in a place of cognitive dissonance, and that doesn't always feel good. It can be really uncomfortable. So how do we persuade ourselves to go there? How do we persuade ourselves to engage with a deeply transformational learning experience if we know the journey for us might be uncomfortable? And how do we design our teaching and assessment to encourage creativity and critical thinking? We know that sometimes students like to have enough scope to be creative, and they also like to know where the boundary of such creativity might be. After all, if their assessment marks are critical to their qualification, there is an element of risk involved in being creative. So for me, this paper brought up several topics of interest. One, that the skills that I would normally class as being core systems thinking skills were being deemed essential core skills in a subject such as accountancy. This to me shows the applicability of systems thinking to a diverse range of subject areas. Two, that there are potential issues in our own perception that might prevent us from entering fully into a creative and critically reflective space if what we experience is cognitive dissonance that feels uncomfortable. Three, that we generally consider discomfort bad and comfort good. So how do we flip that around? And four, that our teaching and learning practices when encouraging students to enter into transformational learning journeys should account for how that might feel, and we should be mindful of the risks for those who fully enter into it. For me, on my own learning journey, both in formal education and informal learning, it's been crucial to have a positive perspective of deep transformational learning, to understand that cognitive dissonance can feel uncomfortable. I've experienced it many times, particularly in the early days of working with the Stafford Beers Bible System model. I distinctly remember going down a rabbit hole to explore the words communication and information and forgetting to come up for about 18 months. And it was painful but very fruitful, and it was a big motivator in developing the creating the conditions for change approach. Without the deep transformational learning experience where I engaged with as many perspectives as I could and deliberately made myself engage with concepts and ideas that felt uncomfortable, the approach would never have been born. So my takeaways from reflecting on this paper are One, that systems thinking skills are being deemed relevant and even essential in many professional fields nowadays. Two, the skills open up a whole new way of moving forward in a changing context of today's world. Three, the process of transformational learning to develop the skills of creativity and critical thinking can be uncomfortable. And four, the benefits can have long-lasting professional and personal impact.